thank you all for staying tuned in each and every week to Speak Out Your Issues with Miss Show You Right Nadine
And Sabrina.
and we love you all continuing to stay in tune in with our Speak Out Your Issues show, which is brought to you by WLMRradio.com. Just a quick reminder, we do air every Sunday, 6 to 7 Eastern Standard Time on WLMRradio.com. We are on Facebook as well as we have a website. And we have a fantastic topic this evening. It is on school rules. But before we get into that discussion, you all, we have a special guest waiting to talk with us in reference to human trafficking and some of the great things he's doing. And without further ado, we would like to introduce everybody to Antonio Moses. And yes, indeed. And Mr. Moses, he is on the line with us. Thank you so much again for tuning in and being our guest this evening on Speak Out Your Issues. And before you get started, I would just like the world to know he aired a documentary last night that was more than stellar for as I'm concerned, simply because most of the times when you see documentaries that are by people, they are not as clear and the focus is not there. It was all of that plus. And he did a fantastic job. I don't know how long it took him to do that, but I just wanted him to come on our show. Of course, we all know human trafficking humans is one of the biggest money makers today. And I'd like for Mr. Antonio to go ahead and introduce himself as well as just to get started with letting us know your reasoning for doing it and your experience on that journey.
Well, how's everybody doing? I appreciate you guys for asking us to be here this evening. We really, really appreciate this opportunity to speak about human trafficking, which in our opinion is a public health issue, much like cancer, which needs to be taken out of the fibers of our society. And much like cancer, it's not something that you can do by putting a Band-Aid on it. You know, it has to be dealt with from the root. And trafficking has many forms. You know, what we notice here in the United States, opposed to trafficking abroad, is that the terms of trafficking tends to have two different types of definitions when you talk about international trafficking and domestic trafficking. So the trafficking that we specifically dealt with, because we were coming from a perspective of Atlanta, was the trafficking that happens where it happens right in your home. It happens, you know, it could be happening right next door at a neighbor's house. You know, it could be happening at the grocery store. It could be happening at a nail salon where you go to get your nails done. So it's very broad in terms of its scope, but one thing that's undeniable is that it must be eradicated.
Yes, indeed. We really appreciate all of that. What, I know you definitely know about that, but in reference to the human trafficking in the surrounding counties, especially in Atlanta, I know you're definitely a filmmaker. You love, videography, doing videography and so forth. But what brought you to definitely do this?
Well, we've been working on this project now for about 26 months. And what I found to be staggering about human trafficking are the numbers. And if you do the math, it's amazing assaulted, um, it, it, it doesn't necessarily have any racial bounds. It doesn't have any political bounds, borders. It just specifically preys on the weak and the vulnerable. And in most instances, that happens where you have what we consider to be gateway type of behavior patterns in family homes where there's been um, a lot of trauma, whether it be something that a parent does or whether it be something that a parent allows to happen under their roof. So we interviewed about 100 ladies, and it became quite evident. It became quite evident that some individuals are more susceptible to human trafficking than others.
Yes.
And most of those individuals typically are individuals who have been sexually assaulted at a very, very young age.
Yes, yes. In interviewing some of those young ladies, which they were powerful messages, powerful stories, and interviewing those young ladies and just looking at it from the documentary that was aired last night, it was a lot of passion. You can feel what they were going through, and to see them get to this point in their life is phenomenal. But when you were interviewing them, what were some of the things that was coming through your mind?
Well, the first thing that we dealt with, the name of the documentary is Bondage, the Human Trafficking Experience.
Yes.
And what bondage deals with, it's a mental state. Mental bondage typically refers to an emotional sense where the trafficker has control over his victim. And that control doesn't necessarily have to be, they don't have to have chains. They don't have to have duct tape. They don't have to have restraints. It's dealt with in terms of manipulation, coercion, and duress. So normally, these individuals concentrate on weak-minded or young-minded individuals by telling them things that, like, if you tell someone that this happened, I'm going to kill your family, or if you let anybody know about this, they're gonna lock you up. So the manipulation and the coercion is the underlining factor that relates to this trafficking issue.
Okay, Sabrina, do you have any questions you'd like to ask Ms. Antonio?
Yes, I'm really excited about this. I met you a couple of years ago when it was just a thought in your head, and you wanted to know more about what I call this insidious disease that seems to start to be consuming our families.
Right.
And so as we sat down and we were talking about this issue, and this is something that I'm very passionate about, and we talked about the approach and what do you need to do, how do you move forward with this, how do you approach this. So I know you gave me a backdrop on why you did it, but could you tell our listeners why you took on this project? Because I'm a fan of yours. I follow your work. I follow your shows that you do, and this is a little different from your norm. So could you let us know why you decided to move into this direction?
Right. I found it to be quite irritating and fascinating at the same time. What fascinated me about the situation is how you can take the control of a person's mind and have them do something that would go against everything that they believe, everything that they've been taught, and allow someone to put them in a situation to where they literally um, forfeit the rights of controlling themselves.
Mm.
And that on a whole level of the relationship that goes between the traffickers and the victims, to me, was something that I thought needed to be investigated, and I just wanted to have a lot more clarity and understanding as to why that happened. You know, because it starts to make the individuals who are victims, their mindsets become a certain way. And if you ask me, in my honest opinion, once they have been, um, once they've undergone this horrific type of abuse and trauma, that stays with them. So if it happened to them 20, 30 years ago, they still are affected with it. Some of the young ladies who we interviewed, they can't even have a physical relationship, in a monogamous relationship that they're in, without some type of inducement of drugs, because their mind is set to where, after the person who had controlled them had drugged them so much when they were pimping them out, and they were prostituting, that they can't even perform the emotional and the sanction, the sacred act of trying to consummate a relationship with an individual.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And then you have those cases, so I want to say this: you being a gentleman, and I'll say a king for real. What did that feel like to you? Because I know that no human being that listened to these atrocious stories at night, and I know me, when I was working with them hands on at night, I started having nightmares, and their stories were literally haunting me as to how I can, in me, I wanted to figure out how can I take that pain away and put that smile back on their face. From a man's perspective, a real man, because real men don't hurt women, they don't pimp women out, and they don't prostitute women, and they don't traffic them. Real men cover, protect, and love women. So as a male and a man looking and hearing their stories, what did that feel like to you?
Well, I get very emotional when I deal with it, of course, because I came from a woman, and I have a high reference for women. I've never put my hands on a woman, and I don't have much respect for men who do.
Absolutely.
So now, when you're dealing with issues as it relates to a man and a woman, I'm not one to try to lecture or tell another man what he should be doing. But me as a man, that's something that I find to be unacceptable, because I cherish women. I cherish women, and if you ask me, I think if God had anything greater than a woman, He kept it for Himself. That's my opinion.
Absolutely.
But one thing we can't do is traffic shouldn't be just labeled simply as a woman's issue, because
exactly.
there's a wide range of situations that happen where men
absolutely
are subjected to trafficking as well. So you've got three different forms of trafficking. You've got your sex trafficking, you've got labor
trafficking, organ trafficking,
and organ trafficking. So it doesn't happen as frequently to men in terms of the sex trafficking, but the labor trafficking, which numbers that we are not privy to, because there are so many different data services providing information, that depending on which internet service you're using, you'll come up with different figures.
Absolutely.
You'll come up with different figures. So if one woman is being trafficked, for me, that's enough.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't need the millions and the hundreds and thousands of numbers that they come up with, as far as what they're saying that the children are being trafficked. So what we have to do as a race of people, especially in a civilized society, is we have to find ways and means to um, educate the masses.
Absolutely.
We have to bring awareness to the situation, and as filmmakers, that is what our intention is
That's
to
awesome.
bring awareness
That's
and
awesome.
everything that we can possibly do to inform the masses.
Oh my God.
Yes.
And my last question, because you answered my next question, which was about the young men. But my very last question that I wanted to say to you was a statement. So in your documentary, there were 2 instances that the perps were the mothers.
Correct.
And for me, that was so heartbreaking because everybody thinks that a trafficker is a male, the male figure.
That's correct.
And that's not the case. In his documentary, the traffickers were actually the mothers. And we know mothers to be nurturers and protectors and to care for their children. So it is so important for us to get that message out that anyone could be a trafficker. And I know I've told this story on many occasions where one of our traffickers were a 19-year-old female and a 16-year-old female who was trafficking a 15-year-old female.
Right.
So it could be your peer, it could be a peer, it could be a parent, it can be anyone. It's a trafficker can be any person. So we don't want it to, that to go out that there are only men are the only one that are trafficking children. It could be anyone. Antonio, we are so that all I can say to you for our listeners, it's called Bondage, the Human Trafficking Experience.
Right.
When it comes available on Amazon, okay, we will, as soon as it's available, I promise you that we will post it so that you'll be able to do one click, go to Amazon and buy this documentary. It is so important. Last night we laughed. There were instances in there where we did laugh because, poetic justice, right? We clapped. We cried. I cried so much. It was crazy. My makeup was running. I was looking crazy. But we were also educated because the stats were there, the numbers were there, the information was correct. It was not something that I can tell that it was pulled off of the internet and gathered together. I can tell that this gentleman actually did his homework because the information was correct. I felt like a proud mama last night. I don't know about anybody else, but I was. It was phenomenal.
Also, Sabrina, as it relates to trafficking, a lot of times individuals who we went out on the street, especially at the campus, the college campuses, and this is information that we did not include in the documentary, but we did a lot of Johnny on the spot type of interviews with individuals, and most people see trafficking as people who are being brought across
international
waters, trafficked over borders, and riding in the back of the truck.
Tractor trailers or
They don't know about the domestic, right?
Right, but the thing about trafficking is you don't actually have to be moved.
No.
1 inch.
No.
And that's why when we were performing the interviews that we were performing, I thought early on that it was a conflict of interest as it related to trafficking. But the more investigation that we did, we realized that a person doesn't have to leave out their house.
No.
Right.
Exactly.
So one of the young ladies in our documentary, unfortunately, her mother used her to pay the rent.
Pay the bills.
Yes.
Support her habits. Yeah.
Pay the rent. So sometimes it's not sexual exploitation. Like one of the young ladies in the documentary, her mother, she effected a contract that she gave her sister. She gave all of her children to a family who put the children on the street to sing and dance. And didn't go to school.
Never. We had an education.
So we have to just be mindful. You also have to look at the kids that are on the street corners, at these exits that's selling water
Yes.
all day. You know,
Yes.
there's some issues that we have to look, at here as well.
Absolutely.
Right, especially if they don't have the coach out there. You used to see where, if they're fundraising for the football team or whatever, and if there's
Right.
no adult out there,
Right.
by all means,
Right.
yes. And I appreciate you bringing all of that enlightenment to us. And in the documentary, just for our viewers, it was indicating that the children in school could be trafficked, and
yes.
you would never
You would
know.
it. Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So as far as I know your next steps, and also how people can get in contact with you if they need your services or
And
you
how they
need
can
help
support,
or whatever,
exactly.
and how they
Yeah.
can support
Yes.
what you're doing. I can't wait for it to come out because I'm going to be letting everyone know.
Yes.
And we
Right.
Again appreciate all your hard work and what you've done, and putting that excellent documentary together. I'd already mentioned Tyler Perry or whoever else is out there. Well, I ain't
Right.
talked to. I'm trying to talk it up.
We're talking indie
Whoever.
film. We're talking Oscar. We're talking.
He
This
would
needs to go
love
on
that.
Netflix. I mean,
Yes.
this literally needs to be
Mhm.
picked up by Netflix.
Yes,
It is
in
just
any of those
that good,
industries.
and I'm telling you, heart wrenching.
You're right.
But facts, heart wrenching
That's
right.
facts
Facts. Yes.
about domestic minor
Domestic.
sex trafficking.
Yes.
Domestic sex
Our
trafficking.
landing page is www.bondage.news.
Okay.
www.bondage.news. And before Christmas, our present to the world will be that the documentary will be released. We plan on traveling to show the documentary and have it screened at most of the colleges.
Great.
And the black colleges in the United States. And we hope, and we're keeping our fingers crossed, that we can have it instituted in schools and have it be part of the curriculum there.
Yes.
Yes.
We have a trafficking workshop that
Oh,
we
okay.
revised, that we've painstakingly worked on. It took us about a year to complete it, and it will also be available for students when we do screenings on their campuses.
Great.
That is phenomenal.
Great. Hey,
Oh my
we
gosh,
look forward
Moses.
to continue
Yes.
to work with you, and
Yes.
we have the connection because that's Sabrina's specialty is human trafficking and child safety and everything. We're going to talk about that next, but we really appreciate your time.
Yes. Thank you so much.
And I loved it because everything, like you said, was on point. Also, it wasn't, every episode was on point. It wasn't where you got tired of looking. You
Right.
allowed people to want more.
Yes.
But those testimonies,
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
what did it.
Yeah.
What did
And you
it.
did something that was so, oh my gosh, I want to commend you, because what you did was you showed us the problem, but you also gave us the solution. And the solution was counseling. Dealing with a trauma, you have to get with a trauma specialist, because those victims that have been trafficked, their trauma is so traumatic. It is akin to PTSD, what soldiers get in the middle from war. But some of those cases are even worse than that, because they deal with trauma on top of trauma, what we call impacted trauma. And so you need to have a specialist that specializes in dealing with trauma.
That's
and
deeply rooted,
deep
huh?
trauma. Because some of the trauma does not start at the trafficking. Some of this trauma starts at an early onset when they are abused. So your abuse, the day you are abused, the day you are raped, not molested. I don't like that word because to me it's just a nice word, but I would like to call it what it is. It's called rape. When you are raped, when your rights is taken away from you at that age, that's when literally your bondage starts. So the fact that you had a specialist that dealt with trauma, and guess what? She explained what trauma was and the different levels of trauma. I was floored. I'm like, Miss Ali!
I got her card. I have her card.
What we experienced with the research that we did, we did not pull up a documentary that had ever done that.
Yes. Yes.
Right.
You know, most of them exploited.
Talk about the problem.
And leave it at that, huh?
Yes.
But we were not just interested in telling horrific stories.
Yes.
We want to show that there's a process.
Yes.
Before and during and after. You know,
yes.
There's more to the story than, you know, these women's being violated.
Yes.
So some of these young ladies have written books and moved
yes.
forward.
Yes.
Have gotten married, and then some of them can't get past
the trauma. Absolutely.
Yeah. You know, so, you know, we still are taking phone calls from the young ladies. We talk to them. We are not counselors.
Right.
So that was the reason that we got a professional.
Exactly. Yes.
And we had to have a professional.
Yes.
Because we wanted to actually do good for these women and not just do good, just have a nice document.
Well, you did it.
Right.
You
yes.
did it.
That's what I was saying. And that's exactly what we do too. We bring the, you know, information, awareness, the training, and also have referral of counselors.
Yes.
And of course, I did get her card, and I talked with her. And I told her that you all did an excellent job.
Yes.
And again, I know we've taken a lot of your time.
I know we really
appreciate. We really appreciate.
This is an issue that, you know, we take with pride. It's heartfelt, and it's more than a job, and it's more than a movie for us.
Absolutely.
Yes, and
it's more than just a project at this point.
Yeah, I can't wait for the next one. I'm so excited.
Yeah, it started out as a project.
Yes.
And then it became something a lot more.
Yes.
A lot more real and a lot more passionate.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
You know, I personally, along with Donna Griffin, we do the editing of this process, and it's tedious.
Yes.
You know, I may listen to the same story 1,000 times. You know, but each time I hear it, and when I'm alone, editing this stuff, I'm crying.
Oh yes.
Oh.
And I don't know where the tears come from.
Hey.
I watched it at the premiere yesterday, and you know, and tears flowed.
Yes.
And a lot of it has to do with the inner man in me reaching out and crying out for some type of salvation and deliverance for these women.
And thank you so much.
You did it, and we thank you for it.
Yes, thank you so much again for all of that. And when you started talking, and I'm going to end it with this, it's all about the families being in the right mind and not wanting to, you know, definitely harm, but uplift and be as families.
Right.
Like it should be. Again, Mr. Moses, we really appreciate your time, and it's not the last time of you coming on our show. But again, you have a great evening, and thank you so much, and we'll be talking with you soon.
Okay, thank you ladies so much.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
All right, bye-bye.
Okay then. Bye. Yes, indeed. There you have it.
Wow.
We definitely had a great time last night. Yeah. But we're going to take a station break. And remember, you are tuned in to Speak Out Your Issues with Miss Show You Right, Nadine.
And Sabrina.
And we just had a great interview. We'll be back momentarily.
Yes. And don't forget, everyone, is it the 28th of this month is our Candid Conversation. And our guest will be none other than the illustrious Dr. Eugene Davis. And he is a forensic psychologist. So I am really, really excited to have a sit down conversation with him as he talks about the psyche, the mind of a hurt person as a healed person. So Dr. I call him Dr. O. He talked about a healthy mind. And so I changed it from saying mental health to getting mental HELP, mental health, which a lot of us really need, Miss Ali.
Yes.
Because we have so many issues.
Yes.
we need some mental help.
Oh, hey, from the bottom to the top, or the top to the bottom. You know we have to bring something in, but and it's okay.
Woo!
It's okay.
Yes,
as long as
yes,
we're willing
yes.
to hear and listen to one another, and
Yes.
take in others' ideas. A lot of times we want to hold on to what we think and not have our ears open to listening and taking in on what someone else
Yes.
is thinking
Yes.
and their thoughts, and being able to accept it, But we just wanted to give you that little bit, and appreciate you definitely telling us I appreciate, let me start back over. I appreciate you telling us in reference to Dr. Eugene Davis,
Yes.
like you said, who's the forensic psychologist, counselor. He's been doing it many, many years, and we're gonna be on Facebook interviewing him
Yes.
at our candid conversation.
Woohoo!
But back to our school rules. Of course, this is our topic tonight, and just before going to school rules, I like Miss Sabrina to just let everyone know. I know a lot of people do know what she does, but just let you all know this is connected, and that's what we do. We make the connections, and we get the job done, and try and get others to help get the job done. It's so much, it's massive out here with the abuse and all the rest of that.
Yes.
But if you could just take a minute or two just to let people know, what you're doing, what we're doing in reference to the human trafficking.
Yes. So we are,
Oh, of course.
our group, we are an advocacy group. We advocate against human trafficking, child abuse, teen domestic violence, bullying, and of course gun violence, and all of this interchanges at some point. These all of these issues interlock with each other at different points, because a child that is being bullied will go and shoot up a school, right? A child that is being bullied or beaten, abused at home will go and bully at school. And so we also haven't been talking about this much, but we talk about teen domestic violence. So we always talk about domestic violence from the adult series.
Right.
But we have a lot of teenagers are out there that are in relationships that are being domestically beaten, violence, I'm sorry, dealing with domestic violence relationships. So if you're in a relationship, whether it's verbal, whether it's emotional or physical, that's domestic violence. And it doesn't matter, what type of relationship that you're in, whether you're an adult or if you're a teenager, you're in a relationship and you're being hurt at any point, that's called violence. So we talk with our teens about that, and letting them know that you're in a domestic violence situation, and that teen domestic violence is closely related to rape. We have those that are in relationships that they are raped, and they are afraid to come forward
Right.
and talk about that. So we deal with this as a whole, and all of these
Right.
issues are interlocked. But the most important part of it, and we want to send out this disclaimer yet again, we are not counselors.
Oh,
We
no.
are not licensed counselors, but we have partnered with
Yes.
many professionals, many doctors that are counselors, that we refer all of our clients to, all the people that we come in contact that need mental help, that need help on any level. We have partnered with law enforcement as well as our mental health counselors, psychologists, and psychiatrists, and grief counselors as well, that we refer people to.
Exactly.
So we don't sit down and counsel them because we don't have that license.
We're just advocacy.
But we're partnered,
right.
and we advocate. We also have our health and wellness. Health and wellness is so important. Healthy mind, healthy body, healthy spirit. And a lot of the times, and what people don't realize is what you're dealing with in your daily life impacts your health. So whether if you have a stressful job, whether you're dealing with a stressful situation in your life, or you're in a situation where you're being traumatized, it affects your health and your body wise.
Right.
It shortens your lifespan. It causes you to
Exactly.
have ailments. It activates cancer cells in the body. That's how our bodies start getting all of this cancer. From what I found out, cancer is in the body, lays dormant in the body.
Right.
And different stressors will activate that. And so, I'm learning all this stuff. Miss Ali is always sending us information, right? So, but yes, we need, these are things. Yes, these are things that we are doing now. And she's doing something really new. Miss Ali, you really, I mean, just touch on that a little bit, but she's doing something. She was teaching me about it last night. I'm so sorry I didn't get a chance to go in today. We had that groundbreaking, but could you just tell them a little bit about what the new thing that you're doing now, which is not new, it's been out for a while. I've learned, as I'm always researching stuff, but tell them a little bit about it, please.
Well, actually, before I go into that, all of what Sabrina was explaining, she has a passion in doing human trafficking, and of course, she has My Name Is Me as well as Seed Life. And we're doing some phenomenal things with that, the training, the advocacy, and the education. Of course, one of our other partners, Zakia, with Jamay Phoenix LLC, she handles persons who've been trafficked in
as
the
well as
family. So that's why I always mention families, whether it's in health and wellness. And it's good that she's working with us. Thanks to Zakia for wanting to definitely work with us, because the whole unit need to get back together and be upright and treating the children right. But what Sabrina mentioned, the limbic arc is what I've been introduced to. That's the new way of getting your health and wellness. And of course, I'm still learning myself, but it's at the quantum level. One example, if you remember, when solar energy first came out, a lot of people like, how did they get that to be together and
provide energy
yes, to provide energy? That's on that level.
Wow.
Where the quantum energy fields, where, for instance, it's in an app, and you're able to activate whether it's stress release. We don't use the word PAIN because they say only doctors can use that word. Again, PAIN. We use discomfort. Because it's in the health and wellness avenue, and you activate whether you want not pain relief, but relief from stress or inflammation that's in your body. And what it is, the quantum energy level is derived from the sun and all the natural resources out there in our world, and we don't take advantage of it. So if you like, you can go to my website and check it out at, is it Ollie? You said Nolly.
Nolly. I thought that was the name of Nolly, y'all.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. But Ollie, limbicart.com, and it's LIMBICARC.com. Of course, you can give me a call at 678-783-9036 if you like any more information. I also put it out on the website as well. But hey, I always appreciate you all because you've been getting the word out for us, and it's so important in what we're talking about. We come with passion about the things that we talk about. Absolutely. Appreciate you mentioning that, and of course,
and as we talk about the Bounce to School too, Miss Ali, you know, we offer training. So we train, we train ambassadors. We also train trainers. So we come out and train you about human trafficking, teen domestic violence, and bullying.
Child safety.
Yes, we're all about child safety. We are also looking for volunteers.
Yes,
so if you're looking to volunteer with us, please reach out at info@mynameisme.com. Let us know that you would like to be a volunteer. We are also looking for our youth to volunteer as well. We have some wonderful things in store with that as well as South Carolina Neighborhood Advocates, which is our health and wellness portion. So if you want to volunteer, please reach out. Also, we want to say, don't forget to go on Amazon and order your book of My Private Space as we talk about, again, our children's safety and having a voice when anyone touches you inappropriately, which is so apropos to what we're doing right now. Is we're talking about, you know, back to school. And back to school entails our children being safe.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was getting ready to bring into. and also, like you was mentioning, don't ever forget to always send us on Speak Out Your Issues or on Facebook, or just call us if you have any topics you'd like to hear or be involved with. But I know we've done a lot.
I know, right?
And guess what? It's okay, because it's all information that's so relevant to each and every one of us. But I know the first section was we wanted to get Mr. Antonio Moses on the line because it was actually very, very good opening with this documentary. And of course, we talked about what we do, like we said we would be doing, to let you all know. And back to our topic tonight is school rules. And just to put a few questions on your mind, and if you want to type something on Facebook, please do. Should test scores reflect how good a teacher is? That's one of the questions. Second question, should students' ID cards have tracking devices? Based on a lot of things, what goes on today. And thirdly, should students be sent home after getting detention? Which, you know, sent home after getting detention has always been.
That's a bad thing, especially if you're the baby.
But you know, just the way things are, you have to look at the safety of our children today. So definitely, if you like to chime in, Miss
can we start from the bottom?
We can start from the bottom.
It's starting from the bottom. Starting from the bottom down here.
Students be sent home.
Should they? And you know, that is a question. That's a very good question, and this is just my response to that question, not anyone else's. But for me, I don't think so, because we are now putting them in a position where they are home alone.
Yes.
because parents work. And your children are now home alone, and they become, we talk about a lot of key children that have,
Yes.
that's that one, and you probably that one that was in charge of keeping the key and getting home and staying home as the oldest until your parents got home. Don't open the door for any strangers. You get home, you lock it up.
Right.
But it's different now.
Exactly.
Because our children are exposed to so much.
Not only that,
i.e. internet.
Predators out there waiting for them to unlock that door.
And now they are kicking the doors in. They're snatching them up off the street. So no, I don't think they should be.
Me either.
I think they should keep them in school.
Yes, and have a detention in school.
And
the school to me should, based on knowing all of this stuff that's happening out here,
yes,
they should take a step in pride in their own, school. It should be across the board, not just necessarily just one school over here doing the other one don't. To me, across the board in the school system should have something where, even if it's to have the students to help clean up or whatever. Inside the school.
Clean the bathroom. Clean up the graffiti, paint, paint over the graffiti, and pull the gum off the bottom of the tables,
But keep them in school,
yes,
and that's a good point.
Yes,
that's definitely a good point.
And you know what? Something else I wanted to ask, Anita, what's going on with our truancy? We have so many children that are out of school, parents that can keep their, those children that are not homeschooled.
Right.
Parents that are keeping their children out of school. I mean, one of the victims' parents, they had never gone to school.
Wow. Yes.
Where's truancy?
Well, it's like, and I know here in the state of Georgia, the laws go to the parent if the student is not in school.
Mm-hmm.
There are still laws, but I don't know about other states. But like you said, it's always been looked at as far as that truancy, and you're so right on that. It definitely need to, something that need to be done about children, not being in school.
Not being in school.
So
that's that accountability, you all. The accountability.
And it's from, I always say, it starts from the home.
Yes.
The parent getting on the child versus allowing them to just be on the gadgets all the time and not paying attention, or, well, I'm not going to treat the son or daughter like my parents treated me. You better pay them some attention, because otherwise somebody else will have their attention, okay? So
you heard.
But that's been pretty, just the questions to keep the parents, eyes open and minds open about keeping your eyes on your children until they get out of high school.
Absolutely.
And even after high school, you still keep your eyes on them. But you always like for them to get through that first 12 years of schooling.
Yes.
Should student ID cards have tracking devices? I would say I don't see why not. You know why? Because the way if the predators out here don't know, because we hear children are being snatched, up off the street, can't even walk home from school. If they have an ID and if they don't know that the student has a tracking device on the ID, at least some of those students can be saved if they get.
But the only thing is that
and
not all children like me. Not like me. Okay. Leave your ID at home. You forget it. You leave it in your locker. When you take off, for a gym, and you have to leave it in your locker. And again, like you say, for those that want to skip class, it's easy for you to leave your ID at the school, and then you go do what you have to do. But they don't leave their phones.
No. They sure don't. Like they say,
they won't leave the phones now.
They sure don't.
Okay.
But that's a good idea. I would think it's the reason why I was saying yes, because it's helpful due to the fact of, hey, everything is out here and they're constantly taking our precious commodity, and
Yes.
that's our children, that's our
Yes.
babies.
Yes.
You hear that at the beginning of school, at the end of school, during school, all the time. And of course, they're not just snatching them up; they're snatching the older people up too these
Wow.
days. And like Mr. Moses said earlier, a lot of it's, hey, somebody need a organ, okay? So, and I know we're just throwing information out, and it's just a reminder for everybody, just being in society, being conscious about wanting to make sure your family is safe. Should schools reflect how good a teacher is? Because you know, some of the students out here, they like, hey.
I don't know, the students, students are tested. Why not, that for our teachers, and don't get me wrong, I am.
And then if they get a raise as well, that's
that's on a whole nother level, because teachers have to be paid as, they need to be paid as counselors, as parents.
Okay, parents, show no.
And as teachers.
Yes.
They don't get enough,
That's right.
And then I was talking to one teacher, and she was like, here I have these higher levels of education. I have to have a bachelor's or master's depending on my level of education, and some doctorates. You have some teachers that have a PhD in their studies, and they make probably $50,000,
right,
or less.
Right. So,
What?
but you need a job. You start off. You know how it is. You start off.
That means you have to have a passion. You really love
if you want
teaching.
to, and then or get into another profession, with your PhD. But back to that, should teachers, be accountable for, should it reflect on how good a teacher is, the test scores? A lot of times the students, I couldn't say to put that on a teacher, because the student, may not even want to be in school.
Yes.
And it's been on the rise of more students being, in school, because 1 minute there is like the low rate of graduates all around was kind of devastating here at least 5 years ago. But those are just thought-provoking questions that we wanted to share and discuss tonight here on Speak Out Your Issues with Michelle You Right, Nadine.
And Sabrina.
And we're so glad that we have been able to be here together, Facebook Live, and to bring you this information.
Yeah.
And we're going to hopefully continue to. And again, if you have any ideas, always give us a call at 678-783-9036. You can go to our website, speakoutyourissues.com, our Facebook. Is that telling us it's time to go?
Time to go.
No, that's telling me it's my bedtime, 9:45. But bottom line, we love you all out there, and always stay in tune in with speakoutyourissues.com each and every Sunday. Well, speakoutyourissues.com is our website, but each Sunday 6 to 7 Eastern Standard Time. And more importantly, just make sure you definitely keep up with what's going on.
Yes.
They're getting ready to gear up the voting and all the rest of that. That's going to be coming up as well. But Miss Sabrina?
Yes, Miss Ali?
It's almost time to go.
Already? It seems like we
Yes.
just got started, Miss Ali.
You
This has been a great show.
Yes.
Okay, I'm just biased, so to say, but this has been a really, really great show. We got a lot of phenomenal information.
Yes. Today.
And information that was thought provoking, things that we can think about, even in your community, to look out for, and what human trafficking looks like.
Exactly.
And thank you again, Mr. Antonio Moses, for that awesome documentary.
Yes.
highlighting what we are advocating against, and that is human trafficking.
Yes,
And we
indeed.
want to share with all of you and let you know that when you know your value, no one can ever diminish your worth.
That holds so much truth and so many levels. And until next week, you all have a safe, viable, happy, love on yourself, love on somebody else, and most importantly, stay alive if you can. Until then, have a good night.